Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I am very excited. How about yourself?
I'm a little apprehensive.
Oh,
But I haven't been let down so far.
really? What hasn't let you down thus far? What?
Yum yum.
I knew you were going to say it. I fucking knew it. She admits it on the podcast. Rachel loves Yum Yum because we are Yum Yum Podcast, the only podcast brave enough to name ourselves after a ludicrous line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery, Yum Yum. If you have not heard about this line before, then please peruse the hundreds of episodes where we explain it. But you know what? I feel like explaining it again a little bit.
You always do.
Oscar-winning actress Michelle Yeoh is in a scene in Star Trek Discovery. She says, hey, can we kill the antagonist? And this wonderful character, such a nuanced, such a deep, such a rich character, Commander Nan D, Nan like the bread.
Why?
She
Why
says,
are you
excuse me,
lying
it's
like
my
this?
time in the sun.
Why are you lying?
Okay, tell us the truth then. I was willing to tell a version of things, but you are so adamant on telling us about Yum Yum.
No.
Okay, so
I'm just adamant about pointing out that you're a liar.
She licks her lips, throws her hair back, and says "Yum
That's
yum."
not quite a lie. That's the truth.
She says "Yum yum." We laughed, we guffawed, and it
we
made
didn't
us
laugh at first.
Oh, I screamed. I was like, "What the fuck?" But it eventually wormed its way into our hearts to the degree where we wanted to start a podcast talking about science fiction television, Star Trek Discovery, then Babylon 5, Space Above and Beyond, and on and on and on and on we went. And here we are now talking about The Expanse. The Expanse.
Season 4.
We are well beyond the halfway point. Each episode that we are covering is new to us, but it's also getting closer to the end of the journey. Isn't that the sadness? But we have never seen The Expanse before, but as a married couple, we enjoy science fiction television, new and old, and we're always open to these experiences. And yet also, it's always hard to find a show that clicks into place for you. And with our relationship with this, Rachel, you had never even really heard of The Expanse before we covered it. You thought it was a show from decades ago, while I gave it a chance initially and fell off. And now we have the podcast that's giving us a reason and an excuse and a motivation to digest every episode one at a time and review it. And we love where we're at right now. Season 3 was quite a ride. So many wonderful things were going on there. Aaron Wright was being an absolute asshole. We got new characters like Anna, who was joyous, and we ended on quite the note of things in the universe has changed now because we have access, the human race has access to so many other places in the universe, and that is going to bring about...
My prediction was right.
And so was mine. The Play It Back last episode where I made the prediction and I sighed and I said, oh God, they're going to be looking after a hippy-dippy colony for the whole season. And I said, I don't want it, but here we will be. But that is what's happening. We have not seen it, so please, we have seen only up to now. So if you are a fan of The Expanse, don't spoil things for us. Let us enjoy this as newcomers, as people who have not read the books, people who have not listened to the audiobook version. Although, I think when we do get around to the books, if ever, I want to hear one of those audiobooks. I've heard nothing but great things about them. And let's get it into the higher gear, Rachel. What episode is this? So it's a season 4 premiere, but what's the title of it and what's it about?
This is New Terra with 1,300 new worlds. Within reach, a new interplanetary land rush has begun. The UN charges the crew of the Rocinante to settle a land dispute on its new colony world, New Terra. Meanwhile, the OPA begins transitioning the behemoth to become an outpost and gatekeeper to humanity's new frontier.
We have enough problems already without you agitating it enough.
Well, they like humiliating us. It's bad enough I have to play cop to protect their haulers.
We have a treaty.
Worth what to the belt?
We find out, okay, yeah? You have to trust your gut.
Well, the last time I did that, it didn't work out so well, did it?
We were all flying blind, Pumper.
Yeah, well, me more than you.
I really enjoyed this episode overall once we were done with it. When we were in it, it was so methodical that I kept on getting kind of bored because it was just like we weren't staying with anything very long. It was going back to the very similar feelings that I had during the first few episodes of season 1, where it's all set up all of the time. And it doesn't have the burden of trying to set up the characters this time because we know these people.
Or explain why we should watch the show itself.
Yeah, it doesn't have that, but because they wrapped up so many things at the end of the 3rd season, they're having to reconnect things and reestablish things.
That's always going to be the case.
It's always going to be the case when coming back from cancellation. It's
just a new season.
Yeah, but I feel like it's even stronger because it's under a new helm. Like, it's taking a slightly different direction. And that may be because of the books. It may be because of the change of network.
Who knows?
Don't know.
We are. Yeah.
But the vibe of the show is very different.
In an appealing or detracting? Or is it still up in the air?
I'm unsure. Like, I am comforted that all of the characters and the performances feel right, but the editing and the pacing really threw me off because it had that chapter feeling to it of like, that's the end of that chapter, and now we're moving to this chapter of the book, and now this thing, and this thing, and this thing.
The usual reasons that you have problems with the show is that it moves through stuff in a very obvious fashion, like very mechanical.
Yes. Yeah, when I feel the
cogs of the machine
turning and it moving the plot forward and it setting up the landscape of that. Like, I love seeing Avasalara, but her just being like, and this is the season, guys.
This is the season plot, and I'm laying it out to you like the chief of police for the case this week. I thought this episode was fascinating, very fascinating, because just a bit of behind the scenes, we are recording this a day or two after we watched it, and I'm glad that we've done that because this is one that definitely has been needing the rumination on my part because there's so much stuff to take in with it because
I think if we'd done it straight after, I would have been like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I like.
That's a very interesting statement because it's following up with what I was just going to expound upon, which is this was a series that people campaigned for to come back, and you look at the other season premieres, and they're far more like upbeat, I guess, or high energy. There's definitely a sense of confidence, like, yeah, we're back, you're back into it, and we're even better this time round. But for this, and I don't know, again, this could be just the tone of the season or the book itself, but there's a definite brooding quality to this. This was very much an atmospheric, tense episode, surprisingly so. Like, I never got comfortable within the episode because of its construction, its pacing, but also the visuals. And to even go further into what you said about the first season, this very much reminds me of the first season, but all of the craftsmanship in front of the camera, behind the camera, and the writing is much higher. And it makes me wonder if they could go back and do the first season with this approach, this style, if we would have gelled with it way more. But yeah, there's something just uneasy about this starting episode, but I don't say that as a bad thing. I say that as a I guess a positive. I'm not too sure what to fully make of this, but for myself, like, we're just watching this straight away, but for people, they wanted the show back, they campaigned for it back, and now here it is, and it's so glum, and it's so miserable, and the first season had this bluish tint to it that they've moved away from. Season 4 has brought it back aggressively, this gray, bluish, washed out feel. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, this is going to be for very deliberate reasoning, and I believe it will be. I think that with how we've started this, their somber tone is setting what the rest of the season is going to most likely be about. I don't think that this will be as rip-roaring as last season, how when we started the third season, it was just like, I don't want to say this as like, I'm just going to say like popcorn fun, but...
I'm going to say it now.
Mm-hmm.
No sex.
There was no season 4 premiere sex, so it's following the third tradition. And I guess we should circle back around to the sex and our yum-yum factor, our yum-yum moments of this, where we take a moment of an episode and say, was this particularly arousing for us? Yes or no? But we usually say like, yeah, we're looking for the horny factor because this show promises the sexuality. I was actually having a conversation with someone about this, and they said that the Expanse is devoid of sex and devoid of horniness. And then I pointed out all of these examples, like how Holden keeps getting them and how kind of funny it is. And they described it as this, and I want to get your opinion. The sex of the Expanse, the sexuality, the horniness, the kind of beefcake babe stuff is equivalent to when Marvel does it, where it's like, look, he's got his shirt off. Isn't that pretty sexy? But you wouldn't say the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a sexy universe.
Yes and no. Because they're mainly in the first two seasons. First two seasons started out with sex. And characters' sexuality was an important aspect of them. Like Holden getting with Naomi, his girlfriend dying, but also Alex
trying to hit on ladies at the bar all the time, and Amos successfully getting people all the time.
Amos getting people,
and now we're having to scrounge around for
sex
scraps.
Work being
a thing that exists in the universe. Yeah, you're correct. Even Havelock got some. And now we're having to pick through the ruins of what used to be the charged sexuality of this series. And I don't even know what to pick from New Terra as like the yum yum made me lick my lips and throw my hair back moment, because was there really anything to pick? The closest I can give you is Avasarala with a great, and this is more of an appreciation of a great quote, which is she says to Holden to not stick his dick in it because it's fucked enough already. That's pretty great. And Avasarala is back, and she's back with the crass, coarse language that we love to see from her and amazing outfits. But outside of that, I think I have to throw my hands up in the air and say there's nothing here. This episode has a very bleak feel to it, so I just couldn't muster anything. What about you? And you have your automatic Amos pick. I mean, I think he had a lot more going on with that than the regular episode itself. Like, he was spunky in this one.
He was a lot of fun. I always have fun with Amos, though. Which one do I want to go with? He had lots of fun moments, but like they weren't like get me hot under the collar kind of things. So it's just like, which one do I kind of go with?
It's a Sophie's choice, really. What do you have? What is the thing that when you look through your list of Amos stuff, what's the one that you go, yeah, that's what I'll think of?
I really don't know. Like, there's not a solid contender. I think I'll just go with you breathe in, you breathe out. Like that little bit that he has when he's talking to Clarissa.
Oh, right.
It's just like, life shit.
He calls her Peaches.
Yeah.
That seems like
the other one that I wrote down was.
Again, I'm not obligated to have an automatic Amos pick, but I have one because I wrote in my notes Amos is a little pervert, which
I was saving that for you.
Which, well, I don't know why it's not yours because it's the best one.
It is the best one.
Which is I don't even know how to
What was she
describe
wearing?
Wes Chatham's performance here. It's manic, I guess. I don't know. Very strange. This whole episode's got a very off-kilter energy where he asks about Christian and what she was wearing. What was her outfit? He wants to know. Why? I don't know what happened between the seasons, but him and Christian have a fucking weird relationship. I don't know. Like in season 3, he seemed not to really give a shit about her. Like they had scenes together, but you never really got I didn't find a chemistry there or a rapport. But now he's like, hey, what was she wearing? And he seems so like puppy dog about it. I don't know. It's just everything about this episode was just so like. It made me
Just like, wait, what?
I'm giddy and tense, and there's just where do we want to begin with New Terra? What about, I guess, the opening credits and the end credits, since those are different now?
Yes, we've got update with because the opening always sets up key places and things within the world of the Expanse. So now we have the ring, which is now the soul ring, because, there's the rings to
other
all
places.
of these other places. And, like, the same theme.
Yes, the music's the same. There's different
just
visuals. There's different cast members involved. Now we get
new producers.
New producing people. We get drummers in the opening credits. There's a few things. The most notable is not the ring is included, or we get new shots of Mars. That's the other stuff that we get. But Earth. We get a shot of Earth, and there's an explosion on Earth. That's what we see in the very first episode in the opening credits, that there's some kind of attack on Earth, and we didn't get that in the season 3 one. So I don't know if that's saying to us something will happen or what, but it's very much got me on alert. And again, there's that sense of impending doom to this all, like with the end credits as well. I love the new end credits. I think that's the more impressive one, where you get that look into the actual ring itself, like that distorted look that we often see when you're inside the bubble ring space and you're wanting to go out into whatever solar system it is, and you have that distortion. And it's just like this 2001 Space Odyssey type shot where you're just slowly zooming in on this image, and they have a score. They have like the opening credits music, but it's like a different arrangement or different variant of it.
It's like a refresh.
And it's probably my favorite music in the show. Like, I love these end credits, the new end credits music that they've got here. That's kind of like a revamp of the opening one. Again, haunting. It's lilting. It's
going for a very different tone. And that was part of our frustration with season 1, was that, like, the opening credits weren't there, and we felt like that it would have done a lot to build up the atmosphere. So the fact that they've changed that up has got us, our interest is piqued.
Gonna be a real turd floater, huh?
Perfect words for every occasion.
Hey.
What did you think about this episode's presentation when it came to its pacing and its tone and its general vibe?
I find it really hard to answer that confidently, because it's just kind of left me questioning what the rest of the season's going to be like. I think it worked here fairly well. I was engaged for the most part, but I was just like, what, is this it? Is this the season? Is this the episode? I don't know.
And are you welcoming this
Yeah, like,
if this is going to be the future?
I'm open to it. Like, it's a very... It makes a lot of sense to me that after the events of season 3, the world has changed in the show, so the show is changing.
I think there's a disconnect here for the moment being, because nothing within this episode has earned the table that they've set. So what I mean by that is, look at Twin Peaks: The Return, for instance, which also has this type of, I don't know, texture to it. And within its first episode, we get some really deranged, fucked up shit to kind of earn why it has this presentation and feel. In this particular episode, the stories, and the way that the scenes play out are very simplistic. And I don't say that, again, as a negative critique, just as a statement. They're very simple. It's setting up what the season's going to be. And so I appreciate the keep it simple, stupid approach here. But there is no horrific stuff in the episode to really cement why we feel this way in the episode. Do you know what I mean by that? Like,
yeah.
I guess you could say the crash landing on the planet and the what the fuck moments at the end is supposed to be that, but I really didn't feel like those things in themselves were the scary element or the things that are going to make me worried for the future. And yeah. And it also has that feeling of this, for the moment being, doesn't feel like it's out of their wheelhouse. It feels like the Rossi crew has a handle on this. Like, it'll be hard, but I don't question their ability to make it work and figure it out. And that will most likely be the flaw, the dramatic irony of it all, that they are entering a new frontier and they are assured. They think that they can handle it. They've been assigned by Christian, who thinks that they're the most heroic, noble people, experts, and Naomi's going to prepare herself for the planet, and she's going to strap herself down and get injected.
It won't be easy, but
they're optimistic. And maybe that optimism is going to get crushed by the harsh adversity that is ahead of them. And maybe that is, I hope, again, that's most likely reflected by the colony planet itself, where you have all of these refugees and belters wanting a new life that's better, but they have to endure and go through hardships and horrors to get it. And they go in with this bright optimism, but the reality is very different. And that's what I am believing this episode is supposed to be. There's just a bit of a dissonance there. And I'm very confident that by the end of the season, we will have a finer appreciation for all of this stuff that's happening that we're going through right now. But I just wanted to address that because I found the overall plots and the character stuff in this episode to be fairly standard. Nothing spectacular, nothing
it's just setting up the board.
None of the actual scenes or moments or plot beats of this is going to stick in my mind. Where do we go from here, Rachel?
We go forward in time. About 8 months.
Time jumping again. Things are different again. So what's
Another
changed?
prediction I got right.
Yes. So what has changed? 8 months have gone by.
8 months. So they have a situation where about 4 ships, I think it was, get through the ring, like our solar system's end of it, get through before they've really set up the blockade proper. And then we skip forward. They've set up the blockade. The Rossi has had some downtime. Holden's going and visiting his mom.
Holden's on Earth. Naomi can't come because of all of the gravitational issues that would befall her, and I wouldn't want to wish that on anyone, which then by the end of the episode, that will change around, of course, because she wants to go on adventures rather than visit his family. I'm not saying she doesn't want that, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff at the end of there. Bobby's
She wants it. He says that I'm not going to ask her to do that, but in this case, she wants it. She says.
Yes. We got Bobby on Earth. Bobby on Mars. She's no longer a Marine. She's having to fix up ships and live a life that's very mundane. We have the OPA politics is happening in the background, like in the distance. There's conversations about Fred Johnson and Anderson Dawes' leadership and how that is causing a lot of disruptions for the OPA, for belters out there. Those who agree with the methods and those who don't. And yeah,
not all belters are OPA is something.
That's something mentioned, yeah. And yeah, with the time jump and a new season, the new board is set. And what's your opinion on what they've done here? Are you a fan of it, or are you not interested, or are you viscerally against it like we were last time?
Not like I am excited that they've set this up because it means that hopefully Drummer is going to be here and be there more regularly. And we really enjoyed the stuff on the Behemoth last season for the most part with that rivalry and the way that evolved, and we don't know how much it's resolved.
And you are very much wanting that to be furthered. I liked what they've done with Christian, where she's back on Earth. Of course, we're seeing her point of view on this situation that has befallen everyone, and she's having to manage it, and she's having to be a voice of reason yet again in a room full of people who just want to go, 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 and not look into things. And then that's the thrust of it, is she's going to bring the Rocinante crew to do the work for her because she knows that they're reliable like this. And I found that to be fascinating. But what I'm, I guess, disappointed in is Clarissa Mao has been sorted out between the seasons. I was really bummed out by that. I was hoping that and who knows, maybe she's in the rest of the season in ways, but I doubt it. It seems like we got a little video call with her where she's in prison, and she's talking to Amos on the call, and it's told to us that during the months traveling back to Earth and her going through her trials and tribulations and imprisonment, that Amos and Clarissa bonded and became good friends, and that they have lots in common, and they're both great mechanics. And as well acted as that scene is, and as many great little lines and tidbits as that scene has, I would have liked to have actually experienced that.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, okay. That's one thing that they're just shuffling off. And it's just like, oh, okay. Again? Oh, you doing this?
I'm going to ask you a very harsh question. Do you ship it? And do you think the show ships it? I don't know. Are they friends, or is there going to be more? And also, will she ever be in the show again? I don't know, but what do you think?
I don't ship it personally. I don't know if the show ships them romantically or not, because it's just like Amos being in a romantic relationship just doesn't seem right.
Oh, not if it's with anyone other than you, of course.
No!
But I like him as a character. Now take off your shirt. This scene bothered me because it's unearned in my eyes. It's truly unearned, and it's just exposition. It's just a way to tell us why Clarissa's no longer here, but also
what happened to her.
And that Amos grew as a character because of his relation, and also Anna's not here too, which is the true shame of it all, but we're going to reference her. And I get so angry with these type of scenes because, again, I would have liked to have experienced this. I would have liked this to be the case. I would have actually liked to have them bond and to see her have to be on the ship of people that she fucked. Like, wouldn't that be... That's a story. That's a story to tell. The story to tell is Clarissa Mao on the Rocinante, the people that she did all of this evil to apprehend and to fuck over, and now she's having to eat dinner with them. Now she's having to work alongside them and keep up her end and keep up her keep, and they don't trust her, and maybe over the course of the adventure they do, and instead it's like, that happened in between seasons. And I'm just bothered by it. I just don't care for it. And do you think we'll see her again? Do you think that's the end of Clarissa Mao, where she's just in jail?
Yeah. I think she's stuck there. They made that fairly clear that she ain't getting out anytime soon. And I hope we see Prax again before we see Clarissa, honestly.
I have to go. They have me doing dream therapy. I don't really understand it, but the doctor has flowers in her office and I can smell them through the glass.
Good luck with that.
Can I bother you again sometime?
Sure thing, Peaches.
It goes back into the ongoing complaint of how The Expanse just handles its characters. It handles some of them...
It shuffles them off.
And it handles some characters with far more excitement than others. And I think that gives us a perfect segue into talking about Bobby, who is a character
we are not excited for.
Are they?
We are not excited about Bobby. Bobby's potential romance?
Does the show care?
I don't know. I know that I don't. That's as far as I'm willing to extend.
Rachel, work up those muscles, because how about you give us more information about what is going on with Bobby and your thoughts on it?
So, Bobby, like we mentioned, is no longer a Marine, has gotten a job. We get some exposition about her sort of hearing being televised in some form, and the military doing her dirty.
Well, she was offered an out, but she didn't take it because she was being honorable and she was following the actual code of being a Martian Marine. That, in the end, fucked her. But she's going to take that because it's better to have your pride and your honor and your soul than to just live comfortably. But the conflict is, but she is also just living a mundane day-to-day life that has no purpose. So what did she lose in the end? Like, what did she lost in the end? Like, yeah, she still maintained this, but who does it benefit? No one, actually. Not her, at least.
And not the system. Like, the system would have much rather her sign that document and said, my bad, and continue to be the poster girl for Mars.
My favorite part of Bobby's story was when she was walking home. She's living with her relatives, her brother, I think, or family member, because she has like a nephew that she's talking to. But she's walking through and you hear the Martian propaganda in the background, and there's like this whole diatribe about be a good Martian and always follow what you're told to do. That's a great thing, and make sure that you're helping the cause, because if you work with us, you work for all of us. Yay! And I really liked that because it was a great counter to how Bobby is. Bobby's alone. Bobby's on her own. She's isolated. She's feeling left out. She's excluded. Yes, she's physically doing the labor that's going to help, but she's not actually a part of Martian society anymore because she stood for her principles.
And I got really excited for her because when I first saw it, like, I couldn't really tell what it was. So I was just like, oh, wait, Mars finally actually working on terraforming. Because that was a big part of her thing when we first met her was, I want this war to be over and done with so then we can actually get to work making Mars
great. Yeah, and habitable. But her job is working on the ships. She's fixing up ships. And she says to the other former soldier at the bar that, hey, keep that armor ready because there's always more wars coming. So it's a growth of where her views were at the start of the show, where she was hungry for war. She was wanting it. She's riled up because we can just give them a bloody nose and tell them to leave us alone and prove our dominance so then we can get to the real work, to now her realizing that that is such a childish attitude, and it's actually so pitiful and sad, and that, again, there's this inevitable conflict that's going to come for us all, so we might as well accept that. It's very despondent, and that's how Bobby is. She's very despondent. When I say, like, does the show care? I don't, like, yes, of course they care about Bobby as a character. Yes, of course, we know this. It's just, they always, whenever they cut to Bobby, there's always just this sense of, oh, and Bobby's here too. There's just not a verve to any of her plots for me. Like, there's never like, yes, we're getting into a Bobby scene, yes, like there is when we cut to Christian, like there is when we cut to Miller even in this episode. Yes, Miller, yes, and he's a fucking weird ghost creature thing, hologram creature thing, but with Bobby, I just see her, and my big takeaway is, oh, they changed her hairstyle. That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, you were really thrown by that. You were like,
She got rid of the bun. What do you have to say about the Bobby plot happening? Because where do they go with her from here? But what did you think about what they gave us?
I don't know. I really thought she was just going to beat on the Rossi and, you know, be a part of their family now. So the fact that she's back on Mars and has this thing going on, and I'm like, okay, like, if you didn't show me her, I don't think I feel like I would have lost anything, but clearly you're showing me her because she's going to do something.
You're wondering how is she going to...
Why is she going to matter?
How is she going to contribute to the plot? Because unlike, say, the inclusion of Clarissa Mao, where that's a one scene and it's an obvious, like, well, to us, egg on face when we're wrong, of course, but obvious, hey, here's an explanation of what happened to this character. With Bobby, it's a whole entire plot in the episode dedicated to her. So you know from that emphasis, she will somehow be factored into the story later. And do you have any thoughts? I know that maybe this is better for predictions, but we're on this train of discussion now. So what do you think they're going to do with her? Like, what do you do with what they've set up here?
I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care. So I haven't given it any thought at all. Really, like, I don't know. She might be a spy for Christian at some point. That's my guess.
Oh, you don't think she's going to tuck her tail between her legs and bite the bullet and serve Mars again and learn that actually serving for Mars and one individual organization is harmful to one's set of principles, and she's going to go through that again? Because that's what she's done every season thus far, and I'm waiting for it again. Yeah, I'm waiting for that again. I loved the scene, actually, when she talked to Alex. That was a great scene. I like their awkward friendship because they connect on the fact that they're both Martians who have abandoned so many things for their own desires, but was it worth it in the end? And Alex... in her world is like got everything. He's relied upon. He's someone of status. And he even says that. It's like, hey, I'm real nervous about this because, I have something to lose, unlike you, Bobby.
He is a trash bag.
He's
a trash bag of a human being. And him having conversations with people via comms,
No, it always goes poorly, and you don't like it when he sends messages at the best of times, but she tries to comfort him that she's okay because she has this trick, and basically, we didn't get to hear all of it, but basically her trick is repression.
Yeah.
Just shove it all down and say everything's okay. I love that. I love those type of little insights to Bobby. Bobby's a character, look, we are harsh on, we're not fans of Rachel. You just said you're not interested. You don't care. Bobby's a character who's most effective when you get those fleeting little brush strokes.
You're like a millisecond where you're like, oh, okay, that's why you exist.
I try not to, as do you, but we have to on the occasion bring up that these are from books, and we're just focusing on the show, right? We're just focusing on the show, but there are things where you go, well, I imagine in the books it would play out like this, or I imagine in the books this helps. I am of the opinion that Bobby is a character that just thus far has not translated well from book to TV. I think that if you read the books, Bobby would be a far more fascinating character because you're in her headspace. You're in her mind. You're getting her point of view on things.
Yeah, it would benefit from that internal monologue.
But we're in a TV show where we cut to her for 5 minutes and then we cut her back to somebody else. And I think she's a character that's the most clear example of the adaptation is a disservice, and maybe she's just not that good in the books either. I know she's a fan favorite character, and that includes for the show, so maybe it's also just us.
You wouldn't understand.
What's that supposed to mean?
Scared of anything in your life?
Sure I have. All the time. But there's a trick. You just have to believe that what you're doing really matters.
Ashford's such a piss baby. He's such a fucking piss baby in this episode, and it's great.
How dare you say that? Ashford's just a guy who's being told what to do by people he doesn't respect, and he has to suck it up, and he does.
Being like, I'm not going to send the code. I'm not going to send the code. I'm going to stick it up at them by almost getting killed.
Yeah. I was kind of ambivalent on Ashford's plot in this episode until you described him as a piss baby, and now I'm all for it. I love it. I fucking love it because he is, in the eyes of so many people, a traitor. Because what he is...
I like it.
But his whole story is, his whole status quo now that he belongs to is that he is the guy patrolling the spaces, telling the belters who are just wanting freedom, a thing that he is all about, apparently, wanting freedom.
And he has fought for. He's fought for the independence and status of the belt.
Yep.
And now he's being sullied by being called an inner.
He has to be the establishment. And now he knows what that means. Because in the last season, he was all for being the establishment as long as the establishment was written by him. Like, as long as he dictated the rules. Oh, I made the uniforms happen. I'm the one who says this is how we work with the inners. And now we're seeing him have to really soak that in. And he doesn't like it. He's really upset about...
He's eating his own words.
Mm-hmm. Because here's the truth of it. What you wanted, Ashford, you're now getting to see, which is you're going to have to put the boot of authority on your own people. not just the Inners, not just the Martians, not just... No. You're going to have to shoot down your own people, and they're going to despise you. They're going to spit at you. They're going to call you names. They're going to think of you as the worst, and you're going to have to cow down. Like, you're going to have to bow down and abide by Drummer, a person you don't really respect, and also the UN and Mars, who you also don't really respect. But that's what you're campaigning for last season. So smile and take it in. I love it.
Shit.
Eat shit. Yeah.
Eat shit. Ashford.
I don't feel any sympathy for him. That's the thing. They want to garner some sort of emotion from the audience for Ashford, because what happens, Rachel? So he's having to shoot down these refugees, but there's this whole cat and mouse chase going on here. They shoot this ship, they get the survivor, bring it in, and it's an OPA guy, one of the extreme groups, you can tell by the tattoos. And what is going on? There's like the really great exchange back and forth, and it's very much about the actor playing Ashford's reaction, like his face to being told that you are the true enemy.
You are the enemy, and you're worse than the Inners because you are betraying your people. And it does get him riled up. It does get him really unsettled, because you can see that it's getting at something that he's worried about.
And as someone at home, there is that twinge of emotion where I feel for Ashford, where I go, this isn't what you wanted to be. But there is also an enjoyment of this isn't what you wanted to be, but it's also what you propositioned in the first place. And it's setting up his villainous motivation throughout the season, because I don't believe him to be a hero. I think he's going to be a villain still, and I think that this sets it up. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
This growing resentment of having to fulfill a cycle.
Prime position to be a traitor.
Yeah, a prime position to do an uprising again, to say fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do. And the OPA guy brings up something that's recurring throughout the episode. The Inners have it and the Belt has it, which is that the ring space, that the ability to travel to all of these different solar systems has caused division, has caused a fracturing within each group. We have this most abundant with the OPA, with this guy, and we hear the news about
when we had an enemy, we joined together. We saw that, and Anna was in awe of that back on, was it the Thomas Prince?
Yeah, the Thomas Prince, that
when
ship.
When they were all working together, like Belters, Earth, Mars.
To survive,
and that was the message that she wanted to take back. She wanted to keep that going, and we can see that that's not happening. That's not happening in the worlds that we are getting a glimpse into, because Avaslar is being openly challenged in the UN. Ashford and Drummer are dealing with being the enforcers of the Inners and what that means for them and their ship and their place in the world and their perspective on things. We get that a little bit more when Naomi calls up Drummer. And they have a chat.
Oh, and the concept of these Belters are going to become Inners. They are going to lose what makes us us. We are creatures of space, and they want to settle on the ground. But I think a major truth of a Belter, like a part of Belters' lives that we have seen with people like Miller, for instance, or Naomi, or even Anderson Dawes to a very loose extent, is a part of the goal is so that they can one day become, well adjusted.
Yeah.
Like, the harshness of space is something that has molded them and made them what they are, but also it's like an injustice put upon them in the first place. Like, we shouldn't have to be this way. And so most likely colonizing would solve that, but it's at this moment, it is what it is. And you will have people like Drummer who balk at the idea of changing it. And I really was bowled over by just enamored. I can't wait for like the political stuff of this, or like the thematic weight of this too, of each group has a civil strife within it in a different way. So the OPA is the most obvious, the most direct. They even have a picture of Anderson Dawes and Fred Johnson, and people just kind of like, fuck these guys and their hippy-dippy, peaceful, diplomatic approach to life. Ugh, that sucks. Then you have Mars with Bobby and the other Marines and all that, where it's about this, in a way, the universe being opened up to them has made this disillusionment happen for Mars, where instead they're very much going internal, where with what we've seen in this episode, what's presented is Mars isn't really concerned as strongly about exploiting that. Instead, they're like doubling down on what they're doing on Mars. And like we're seeing like the ramping up of the propaganda of like, we've got to work together, we've got to do this together, obey, obey, obey. And then Earth. And what's Christian's whole thing about Earth, where they are overpopulated and no one has jobs. So people want to leave to get jobs, to have experiences, to have opportunities.
Rush, as the description puts it. And Avaslara is just like, no, we don't fucking know what's there. We can't pull people back once they go there, but we should make sure that it's safe for them. And politically, that's not a wise move. Politically, that puts her in a really bad spot, because that's not something that people like. They don't like being told no. They don't like being told to wait, and especially when that waiting is indefinite. And
because that's what their existence has been. Remember what we saw about the jobs and the guy wanting to become a doctor? Yeah.
And now there's this opportunity, and nothing is being done about it. And in their eyes, they're seeing no movement, just more control. Unless they are getting what probably feels like less autonomy.
That's what we see with all three, that sensation. But with Earth, it's from a place of they are so privileged that it's gone to the state of purgatory. With the Belt, they are in such disarray and disadvantage and horrors that they are just clinging to any method to save themselves. And so there's an anger and a resentment to fellow Belters stopping them from doing that. And then there's Mars, where we had the whole conversation with Bobby and the other soldier about their confusion of why things aren't progressing. They're in the middle. It's obvious stuff, but I thought that it was handled really, really tastefully and with a like feather-light touch throughout the episode.
Yeah, it's obviously setting up the threads of the season and the themes that it's going to be exploring, but not in a way where it's just like, and this season is about this. But like that it's still there when you pick up on it and you look into it, but as it's going through, this signpost isn't hitting you over the head as much.
Definitely with those world building and like thematic points, it's far more signposted, hitting you in the face, very obvious with the refugee commentary that it's making, because the big thing is there is a refugee colony on one of these planets, and everyone's aware of it now, or at least people are being made aware of it. And there's it's contested space as well, because the companies are coming in and they're saying, we want this. This is our place.
It's a statement in itself that this episode is called New Terra.
Mm-hmm, because that's the name the UN gives it. That's the name that the companies give it. While the Belters, who were there first and got there first, name it something that is poignant. Name it after something that's connected to Ganymede. They name it Ilus. And it, again, is bringing into the fact that the inners and the corporations don't give a shit about what the Belters identify with, what the Belters hold near and dear. It's New
Their
Terra,
labor
the
is
episode
what
New Terra.
is useful.
Yeah. They're relevant. We don't even give a shit about them being there. We're just going to come in and do what we've got to do. The companies are there to make profit, of course, and as we saw throughout season 1 and the rest of the seasons, but primarily season 1, that companies
it's profitable from what Avaslara explained about.
Yeah.
I think it was lithium.
Yeah, lithium and so many other resources. But like with season 1, it was made abundantly clear that capitalism is a major contributing factor to the horrors of the world at large, and it's coming back yet again.
Just get yourself to Elis, do your job, and let RCE do theirs. The Belters will try to enlist you to their cause. Holden, do not put your dick in it. It's fucked enough already.
I got my prediction right of the whole season's going to be them hanging out at this hippy-dippy colony planet. I say hippy-dippy, it's not actually hippy-dippy, but I use that as
weird to see our characters in a place and not on a ship.
Not on a set of some sort.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Let's get
really
weirder
weird
with the pronunciation of weird to really emphasize the point. But what do you make of the pitch for the season of there is a planet that is now going to be the hub of conflict?
It just feels basic. It just feels basic. And I'm like, okay, I hope you do something interesting with this because, like, is it just going to be a whole season of that, like, two-parter and Battlestar?
Oh, God. When you say two-parter, you mean that whole third season where we kept flashing back to them on New Caprica or whatever it was? And then
I'm thinking of like the two where we were like really there.
Oh, the boxing episode, huh?
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid of a boxing episode in The Expanse too. Don't worry. Every sci-fi show at some point has to have the boxing episode, and I can't wait for The Expanse's version where Amos has to box Bobby. That's set up. That's set up. You know, they're both scrappy. They're both fighters. They're both muscly. You said it though. It's very familiar. We've lived through this before. But do you have trust? Do you think that they're going to spin this bronze into gold?
Okay, it has a little bit. It has a little bit of goodwill left, but not quite trust, because it's in new hands.
Well, it's the same writing team.
But
it's pretty much the same team. It's just on Amazon now.
Yeah. But
I get it. There's a new era to this show.
It does change things. Like, it's coming out a couple of years later, so what people want from their sci-fi might be a bit different. Like, the pressures around the writers are different.
I guess. I just haven't factored that in. Again, I don't even know how big of a break there was between these seasons. I haven't double-checked that. It's irrelevant to me because I'm watching it how I'm watching it. But I hope, because one of the major revelations of The Expanse that we've had is that it is playing around with tropes and archetypes of the genre. They play them very sincerely, and because of their expertise in writing, they can elevate them into something more than trite. But there have been many times where they haven't been able to. Not just on one-off basis, but ongoing character stuff or ongoing plots. We've had that be a problem. Bobby is one, and season 1 and the noir detective stuff was another example of that. That were problems for us, but I am desperately hoping that they can really rise above the challenges that this brings, because it is so old hat. Like, how many times did you see in Star Trek, especially like Voyager, where they would visit some planet like this, where it's like, oh, here's a colony, or here's a civilization, and they're like agricultural, but the environment that they're living on is killing them, and we must find a way to examine that, or there's some alien threat, or there's some foreign invader, or there's just I'm just getting tired saying even the examples or variants of this, because it has been done. All they need now is a bug episode. Oh, wait, the episode kind of hints at potentially that at the end. Well, maybe not bugs, but some material. But
Avaslara jokes about it.
Yeah. I said at the end of the season recap in my predictions, they're going to have a planet and it's going to spend its time there with that derision because it seems like an obvious step.
Yeah. It's the next thing you do.
Like, it would be more exhilarating if we had the season B, they went from different places that are now available to them to discover the ongoing larger narrative mythos stuff. But it's more convenient on a budget and storytelling level to be like, nah, they're just at one planet the whole season, and it's just going to be a tug of war about who deserves to be here and what's really going on.
I think it's going to be half the season.
Oh, you think it's going to be another half-half?
I think it's going to be another half-half.
I'm not 100% because this is a start of a new book.
Yeah, but I want it to be.
Yeah, I
want
see
it. I want it to be. Maybe that's my wish.
Holden wishes that Miller would leave him alone. He keeps being visited by Miller.
Yelling at him to fucking show up.
Yeah, now he wants to be left alone because he doesn't want to go through the ring space, and Holden's not allowed to. He's asked permission because clearly Miller has been chirping in his ear for so long that it's bugged him.
Okay, what drugs did he do when he was before he passes through the ring?
Oh, because he gloops up his little thing in his arm, right?
Yeah,
the radiation thing.
Because he had the weird vision as they passed through the ring again.
Well, yeah, that happened at the end of last.
Is that drug related or not?
I think it's just Miller being absorbed into him again. Proper. I don't know. We there's so many things left in the air. Miller is flicking between himself and being the investigator program because there's that moment where he gets to see the sky and the rain and he's talking about it like how he was at the end of season 1 when he was trying to connect with Holden but just couldn't. And then you see him glitch again and go back to reinstating the mission, which is you must go through the ring, give me a ride so we can solve the case. That it's only there briefly, but it is just reinforcing that idea that I'm really believing in of there is something of Miller that is becoming a self-awareness. There's a fight going on, but Miller's not winning it yet. And you would imagine that that's going to be a thing during the season, that he will eventually overcome it and come out on top. But who knows? Who knows? But we've laid out the idea of what the season is, or what this episode presents it thus far, which is there's a colony planet and they're on this place that has a lot of toxic things there, lots of things that are unknown, foreign. No one's been able to really give a layout of the land, and what they've found is very distressing as well. So Christian is in the episode, Rachel.
She's back.
She's finally returned.
She's not back in black. We'll let Amos know.
But Christian's here, and I mean, other than saying we're just really happy to see her, what do you want to say about her? Because it feels like we haven't had to talk about her in many, 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 many months.
She seems to be doing a good job as the Secretary General, as best as she can, but like I was saying before, what she's doing is not a popular decision. We understand that it's a very necessary thing, but it's not.
It's pragmatic, not convenient. And that is a desperate place to be in such a unstable environment, because you cannot control it all. But she needs to try and use reasoning, and everything she says is correct. She's right, but that doesn't mean people are going to abide by it. And she calls in James Holden to talk to her, to listen to her, and We kind of said it at the beginning, but it really does feel like a police chief throwing down the case file on the desk and saying, "Here's what you got to do."
President in mine.
Yeah, it makes me think of Danger 5, the Australian comedy series, where the chief is a guy with like a bald eagle head, and he's like always telling them like, "Hello, Danger 5, here's what we're going to do this week, and of course, above all else, kill Hitler." That's what it made me feel like. It's just so, I don't know what it is. There's just something very flippant about it. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it's kind of like the show, because she's so snarky, they can kind of skate on by going through the motions of just how to set up a plot. Like, it's so blatantly like, here's what the plot is. You have to go to this planet where there's proto-molecule. It's there. Here's a weird, like, tower, curved, spiky thing there. That's proto-molecule, but also, make sure that you don't fraternize with the colonists down there. Don't fuck it, Holden. Like, it's so just hitting you over and over again with it, but they have such a loose feel to how they go through it as well, where it doesn't feel as labored as it did previously.
You have the insight to the proto-molecule that no one else does. I need to know what is really going on over there. Is Illus a ghost town or another fucking Eris?
And if it is another Eros?
Evacuate the Belters. Destroy the proto-molecule if you can.
And of course, as always, kill Hitler.
With the stuff back home, what do you think? So we know that we're going to have certain things happening with Holden and the Rocinante going into this new area, but what about all of the things back home? Like, are you fascinated or interested by that? Like, Christian is here, but what does that mean for the future of the season?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just going to be like her book ending things, because it feels like she's sent Holden to do the job, and she might check in being like, "Fucking Holden, you're messing things up. I told you not to put your dick in it." Or we might just not see her again. Those are, like, I feel like the two basic ways that they can go about it. They might surprise us, though.
There might be civil wars happening because, or uprisings, or disillusionment on Earth to the point in which people are challenging her leadership. That's something I would want to watch and see. They set up that one lady in the UN room, in the like war room, what used to be the war room. That one lady who was challenging her at every single opportunity. Can I just say, I don't know, this is harsh. I feel very bad when I say this because I always want to give the benefit of the doubt. But we're 4 seasons in and the series has definitely improved with casting. But I felt like 70% of the guest actors that we got, like people who are new that we hadn't met before, weren't very good.
I agree. And with those performances, I could really tell who would be coming back and who probably wouldn't.
I just...
Like, when they have that conversation with Bobby and the sailor, like, I can't even remember his fucking name.
I don't know.
Hey, sailor, whatever. Like, him, I was just like, oh, he's good. I feel like he is going to...
Come back.
But...
I don't know. It's just something about the acting choices or the way that they've gone. Like, that lady who is challenging Christian... Again, I feel terrible because it's always bad to single people out, but like, I didn't think she was very good. The nephew for Bobby and his girlfriend, not the greatest actors either. The scientists or the corporate people landing down, most of them were like very arched performances in a way that does not match the show, and match again the oppressive quality of this episode. Like, we get the perky lady scientist and she's all like, I can't wait to not be mutilated while we go down, and her friend, and then you get Bern Gorman and his friend is like, golly gee, I sure do love living. It's just something about, it's a writing, I guess, too, but I it's really the first time within this series that I've been affronted by the guest actors, I guess, lower quality performances. Like it really did feel like we're just casting locally, and we've run out of the good Canadian talent. So I guess we've got the lower, like a tier or two down from that. Like we already got Sean Doyle in the show. We already got, him, and he was really great. Like we already got this Canadian. They're all booked up on Star Trek or Killjoys or any show because they're all filming in Canada. It was just very strange to me. You want to talk about Naomi, your favorite character?
She got a new haircut.
Rachel?
She got a new haircut.
Your predictions are off the chain. You really got into what this season's all about. So tell us what Naomi, I want to keep saying Bobby, what Naomi's all about.
Naomi's really in love with her boyfriend. And that they love each other very much, and they have a lot of tender moments. And I turned to you and I said, I still don't give a shit.
You were never going to ship them. You said that from the beginning when they had their little cheers when they toasted to Shed. Yeah, the default. But you like default relationships.
I do. I read.
So much
genuinely
trash.
I read a lot of just straight up romance. Sometimes a bit spicy, sometimes full spice. So I can get invested in a relationship that I know is endgame from the start. But they didn't do it for me.
But she now has her normal Naomi accent again. She's no longer full belter.
But when she talks to drummer, it goes back up again.
Well, that's coding for you. That's swapping around. That's how it works. But
especially because drummer's just like, you're not really being a belter, are you? So, Naomi is just like,
Naomi
getting into a political argument again. Can we not? I just want a nice conversation. It's just like, you know her, right? Like, you know drummer.
Naomi is doing an Alex where she says, no, I'm not going to stay behind and miss out on the cool storyline that you have written down. I'm going to be in it, because that's what Alex did last season. He's like, no. And that's what she's going to do. She's going to take all of these drugs and get strapped down to the chair and get injected.
I really didn't know your actual
No. You just got into the haircut. That's okay.
I did.
And the romance.
But she's getting all drugged up. We have a really nice scene where they're letting her walk through first. And she sees the sky and her body kind of caves in on itself because
it's overwhelming. It's a new experience. It's something that you dream of in her case. And even Martians, I found it a little, and maybe it's just the drugs, but also it's dramatic licensing. But we saw how much it fucked Bobby to go to a planet
after years of
training and the sunlight, and they had to wear the glasses, and it still fucked you. I know that this planet is what town is it in Twilight? Where do they live?
Forks?
Is that it? Is this what that planet is, where it's just really cloudy all the time, so vampires can just hang out there? That's what it feels like. It's cloudy, so her eyes don't hurt when she's lived her whole entire life in fluorescent lighting. I feel like sun on your skin and on your eyes would be more impactful, but I did like that moment too. Overall, how it's played is really tender. I kind of wish that the rest of the episode for her showed a bit more of that vulnerability that she has to this environment, but from the moment they step out of the ship and kind of get a lay of the land, she's just
fine now?
She's just I imagine that this will be a plot point where they get stuck on the planet without the drugs, probably. Oh no, hijinks. But yeah, I was hoping for a bit more of a vulnerability, and yeah, that's Naomi's thing of she's willing to do anything to keep on the mission at hand. And Rachel,
she won't let the family be split up.
Because she split it up before. Rachel, I'm going to hand this over to you now. This is your terrain.
Yeah, give it me.
Someone is in the show. I've already said someone is here, an actor that we both recognize, but you more than I.
I recognize him and I'm like, oh, you're going to be an asshole.
guys, the new villain of the show is here. He has done, by the way, literally in this episode, he does nothing overtly villainous, and yet, because of who they cast, he's the villain of the show. Can't wait to be proven right.
What's he gonna do?
I know this isn't predictions, but I'm putting my money on the table now. He's the villain of season 4. It's Burn Gorman, everyone.
He's here. He's gonna fuck shit up.
Okay, so walk us through let's rewind. Talk to us a bit about who Burn Gorman is for a start, both as an actor but also in this series, and what is happening with poor old Burn.
So he's a company man that's being sent down to New Terra, and a thing happens to the ship. They don't really know what it is, but we later discover that it is a form of the proto-molecule.
It's something, yeah.
Or something like that seems to have attacked the dropship and
at least
destroyed all of their cargo, killed lots of people. So now they're at a disadvantage.
They're stuck too. Like, that's the thing. Now they're stuck there. They have to be on the planet without all of the gear that they went in with. And you say attack, but we learn later that it is just something that happened because we see what the life forms are very similar to like how flocks of birds move.
Yeah.
And it's like they're little pellets.
Oh, I
think it's just like
attack.
it just flew through them because it didn't care.
I think it was I took it as being like an automatic response of they see it as a threat, so they attacked it as if like it was like the
a
things are being the predator in that environment.
I saw it as very much like the proto-molecule in general, where it is not...
It's just existing.
It just exists, and you
That's
just
fair.
get fucked by it. It's just an inadvertent thing. So, Rachel, you're the Burn Gorman fan, I guess. You're the one who's experienced more of his stuff. You watched Torchwood. I've watched Torchwood, but not as much as you. I only watched like bits and bobs here and there. So, when we say, "Oh, it's Burn Gorman," what does that really bring to the table here?
Well, that two things mainly for me are Torchwood, where I always found Owen creepy, and then the show kept on making him even more creepy. But he wasn't a villain. He was just
a lovable asshole.
Not. He was on the good guy's side without being a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I think him of is in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Was he in them?
I think so. Was it?
No, you're thinking. I think that's Cillian Murphy, right?
I might get it. They do look similar.
No, don't worry. You're not the only one.
Why don't
Burn Gorman? Wait, no. He was in Dark Knight Rises? I can't remember. Is he in them? I know Ben Mendelsohn's in them. Burn Gorman.
Yeah, he was Strider in the Dark Knight Rises.
There you go. He was in one of them at least. He was also a good guy in Pacific Rim. He was like a nice guy scientist with Charlie Day.
Well,
and it's so weird because I always think of this
I fucked myself, Ryan.
Why?
I fucked myself because I went to go look up what he was in. And of course, The Expanse is there, and it has what years he was in the show.
Well, you shouldn't have done that, should you?
I didn't
This is why you don't do things, Rach. I thought I said just look up your own memories. Nope, you fucked it. Now Rachel knows something I don't, and now there's an imbalance. And that's why, everyone, don't spoil it, or else you bring about shame for everyone on the pod. Is Rachel happy now? No. Am I happy? No. Are you?
He was also a dirtbag
No.
in Batman versus Superman.
Was he really? I didn't know he did
He
two
was
Batman.
Father Leone.
Oh, well, sure. But the whole entire thrust of this was Bern Gorman is an actor who looks villainous, acts villainous, has a general creep vibe to him, and I don't mean the real life guy, but like him as an actor, he brings that to this. And although his character is nothing in the episode, like he really does nothing, his inclusion says everything. Like his inclusion as an actor is like when we saw Aaron Wright in season 1, where like, oh, it's Sean Doyle, so he's going to be the bad guy. That's how it is, and I can't wait to be led astray, but I don't think I will be. Like how I was right about Aaron Wright. This guy is going to be a shitty security guy, evil, I've got a gun, listen to me, I know best, I'm for the corporation, suck my dick, bad guy. And
it feels like it's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
And I'm going to maybe rile some people up right now. Please get out your pitchforks and your torches. I don't really like Bern Gorman as an actor. I don't care for him. I've never liked him in anything.
Okay.
I've never
like I think he does a good job most of the time, but it's just that thing of like he never fully disappears into his characters for me. I'm like, you are an actor, man, and I feel you acting.
I was with the Hygeia group when we found some belters squatting on a rock with $1 billion in platinum ore that we had the charter for.
How'd that go?
We gave them a percentage of the take, 300K, topped up their water tank, sent them on their way.
You got off cheap.
Yeah, the company called it a win.
Well, let's hope it's that easy here.
Yeah, we got a legal charter from the UN and Mars, so...
You think the OPA give a shit about that?
No, I do not.
The Rocinante crew land on this planet and they encounter the colony because they were told not to, but here they are anyway, going to go do it. And there's a bit of a standoff there. People are ready to shoot each other, but that fucking weird stuff that took down the ship, Bern Gorman's ship, comes through the town and fucks people up, and everyone starts screaming, "What the fuck? What the fuck was that?" And we're left on a cliffhanger of, what was this? Holden picks one of these little pieces of debris. It looks like a fucking fidget spinner, an evil fidget spinner, and it starts to vibrate in his fingers, and he goes, "Oh!" And that's the end of the credits. And I got to tell you, didn't care.
That's the end of the credits?
Oh, sorry, that was the end of the show. End credits. Didn't care. Oh no, a
the fact that you were
fidget
in
spinner.
such a hurry to finish that sentence that you muddled it up.
Didn't care. Oh no, we've got to watch out for a planet full of evil fidget spinners. All hell breaks loose, Rachel. I mean, I kind of rushed through that stuff, but do you have any insights on this or perspectives or things that you want to break down or discuss about it?
I don't know, not particularly. Like, I have my suspicion, but maybe I'll save those for predictions.
Are you ready to rate this episode on our scale of Yum being bad and Yum being good?
I am so excited to hear what your opinion is.
But I'm handing it to you first.
No.
You're going to do the thing where you hear mine and then you go and then you're going to say, "Well, okay, now I can give that myself." No, no, exactly. And Rachel, you're a strong, independent woman. So what do you rate this? Yum or yum yum?
But I need my man.
You don't need no man. You don't need no man. You do need more patrons on the Patreon to help fund this endeavor. Forever and ever, but everyone is banging their fists on the table saying, "Let Rachel speak. Let Rachel go first."
I felt the cogs. It was okay. It's yum.
I let this ruminate, and doing that gave me a bit more of a positive outlook on this. When I watched it, I was just left there excited but pretty stone-faced. I was just like going through the episode, like you said, you feel the cogs of it, you feel the writer's hands, you feel like it's a new show.
You're in safe hands.
Yeah, they're safe ones, but you feel them. You're aware that things are different. The show visually is distinct from what it used to be. The acting is in a certain place as well, from the main cast and guests, like I said, but I like that. Like going into this conversation, like I kind of liked being insecure about how I felt for the episode because it is deliberately trying to get under one's skin. But actually talking about the episode now, like going through the bit by bit of it, it just didn't have enough for me to give it a yum yum. So it's a yum.
Yum.
Now, what is the name of the next episode? I don't know it. I have not looked anything up, and nor have you, but you're going to read out the title for us, and we're going to work off of that and make our predictions for what could be happening next.
It's Space Jam.
Space Jam?
No.
Guys, we're watching Space Jam. Starring Jim Holden as Bugs Bunny.
I just felt the need to do that. No, it's Jetsam.
Jetsam is like when they eject stuff from a plane or from a jet, clearly, like the kind of refuge. Jetsam. Well, I guess that goes into what happened with Burn Gorman. All of his debris and everything's on the ground, and the cargo that got jetsomed, and maybe the next episode is about that. Of we have now been hit with the peculiar life forms on the planet. Let's gather our
resources,
and let's make an unsteady alliance between these three different groups of the Belters that live there, Burn Gorman and his scientists, and Holden and the Rocinante. That's my pitch for the next episode. That's my prediction for the next episode. And I do hope that we kind of get a mirroring with what's happening in our solar system. I hope that we get Christian and her having to deal with the political strifes that would happen from this entire premise, because we got a taste of it. And I want a good meal of it next. But what about you? What do you think Jetsam will have?
Of course you want more Avaslara. Yeah, I think that there's going to be stuff on her dealing with some kind of fallout back on Earth, be it from like uprising or just like people finding out that she's sent Holden and there being backlash against that. I think that scientist lady is going to team up with the Rossi crew.
Which one?
The other one, like the lady that was on with Burn.
Oh, the perky one. Yeah.
A perky scientist lady.
Oh, I guess so. Sure.
I think she's going to join up because they set her up fairly clearly as being a person that's going to come back. It was just like
that and the guy next to her.
Well, no.
We saw him. He was like crawling on the ground, remember?
Yeah.
And I was like, is he missing an arm? Oh, wait, no, he's fine.
Yeah, I was like, I was just like...
It was like the chick next to her.
I had a feeling that, like, yeah, like, we had those two kind of sides going back and forth with, like, stuff in that scene. And I was just like, okay, we're going to get kind of one new main character out of each of these groups. And it's clearly going to be Burn.
He's the villain.
Clearly going to be him.
He's going to try and rule the colony.
Probably. And then I was just like, I feel like because she's the driving force of why they're both there. That's why I think that she's gonna.
Oh, the scientist, yeah, because she's got expertise. Yeah, okay, that adds up. Any season-long predictions that we want to raise that weren't already during our discussion?
I think that you're right about Naomi is going to have trouble on the planet when it's the most inconvenient in terms of the broader plot.
I think it's going to be revealed later in the season that these pillars or these spires or whatever you want to call them that they have found on the planet are remnants of the species civilization
obliterated
or has been lost to the sands of time because it's been billions of years. We're going to find that out. It seems like an obvious thing to say, but I think that's going to be the case because Christian keeps talking about like, oh, it's just evidence of proto-molecule. Is it? Like, proto-molecule may be involved, but it could just be evidence of just structures from long ago. But that just feels like an obvious thing. I don't know how it's going to tie in. Like, they're really making a point like, oh, these people landed on this planet that will be of importance later. And I don't know from a lore perspective, like, what's the thing going to be with New Terra itself? Like,
well, the Rossi is now genuine salvage, so that's gone.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That problem's gone. Bye-bye.
It was weird to see the Rossi on the ground, huh?
Yeah, and I also felt weird about the number of times that we saw, like, the Rossi logo.
Yeah, they had a lot of computer screensavers that should have just said Babcom, but they had Rossi stuff on it instead. But that is our discussion on this episode of The Expanse. Thank you all so much for listening and for tuning in. If you have enjoyed what we have said, then make sure to listen to future episodes. And if you want to get these episodes early, we release them on our Patreon first. So you can support the podcast on Patreon, get these episodes earlier, and you get to be a part of a group Discord channel where we have a wonderful community of people. We're chatting about things, having a good time overall. You can rate and review the podcast on any podcast service that allows you to do so. Follow us on all of the social medias. We are there. You can find all of this in the description below, as well as our email address, which is
yumyumpod@gmail.com.
You can contact us directly. Let us know your opinions on things. Obviously, make sure to zip those lips and keep those spoilers inside of yourself, because we don't want anything like that happening to us. But Rachel, how do you want to conclude this episode? It's season 4, baby. It's a new time. It's a new era.
It's a new era. I want to say I am very disappointed that I have slightly spoiled myself. But you know, it's weird because, like, as you said, it's the same writers, but it's a new feel. It's a new feel. And we've lost some things, and we've lost some people along the way. And you know, it's been a while. They say time heals all wounds. But the uselessness of Havelock will never be forgiven, and we will forever miss the Gaunt Belter.
I will miss the Gaunt Belter, and now that we've got a Torchwood cast member in the series, who else from Torchwood could show up? Will Fuckface himself show up? Will Captain Jack himself rock up as a Martian guy? Will he be here? Will he be Amos's long-lost brother that we didn't know about?
Oh, we get a little bit more Amos lore as well, of like, there's a lot of past in my past.
Oh, I want to end this out on, I was going to ask you this during our watching of it, but I'm leaving it till the episode. Ooh, this is an end of an episode discussion.
What is it?
If you don't listen to the end of the episode, you're going to miss these little insights here. What do you make of Amos having a fuller head of hair? What do you feel?
It's odd. It's odd. But like, I don't hate it. I'm not here for it, but I don't hate it. A bit like this episode itself, I guess.
I just wanted to touch base because he has been slowly growing out this hairstyle. He's moved away from the short kind of buzz cut thing that he had going on, like the short
more hair in general.
He's got more hair. The beard is more prevalent. Mm-hmm. I will say I'm anti this haircut simply for one reason, and everyone, leave a comment if you agree or disagree. It dates the show.
Yes, it does.
Wes Chatham looks like a guy from like 2018.
Yes.
He looks way too much like a guy from when this show was made.
I was like, I don't like something about this. What is it? And that's it.
It's weird because Naomi's the one with wacky hair, but now since he's got like such I'll say it, a hipster type look to him, I just can't take Amos as seriously because I'm just like, oh, it's just some guy. He probably has a vape.
See you then. Well, voila.